Can I ask a question? You mentioned the word hagiography quite a lot, and it may be a word that not everybody is familiar with. I wonder if you could just clarify for us the difference between history and hagiography and the pros and cons of each.
Oh, well, this is an interesting question, another interesting one. So, history is both what took place in the past and what we say about what took place in the past. So there's a distinction between history, the past, and historiography, the way we write about the past based on the sources that we collect stemming from the past, our organisation, and analysis and interpretation of those sources. That process is conditioned by our mentality. So I can organise sources from the past and interpret them in the Christian manner. I can do them in the secular manner. I can do them by only looking at class struggles, which is a Marxist way of looking at things. I can do it in various ways. Now, hagiographies are texts from the Greek word agios, holy one, right? They're about holy people, written usually by near contemporaries in the past. So if it's a life of, let's say, a certain saint like Saint Simeon, the new theologian, his disciple would have written that life. Okay? Saint Nikitas Stitatos, he wrote the life of Saint Simeon, the new theologian. And it's a representation of this person as a holy person. There are motifs taken from the Old and New Testaments to which this holy person was conformed to in life. Because usually, as I mentioned before, the saints become like Christ, by Christ's power and grace. So obviously there'll be parallels. There'll be parallels between their life and Christ's life, because Christ conforms them by grace to his likeness. Now, in the ancient and medieval worlds, you'd have hagiography, so lives of saints, as a distinct literary genre. So something that you could read, as a pious Christian, you'd find the life of a particular saint that you loved or were interested in, and you'd read that life at home. But hagiographies were also interwoven into the chronicles of the time, into the histories of the time. So in the Middle Ages, whether you're looking at Eusebius of Caesarea, the first great church historian, John Malalas, the 6th century Byzantine chronicler, Gregory of Tours in the West, or Bede, or Gregory of Monmouth, or any of these figures, you will find a history of kings and dates and places. Usually these histories would have to do with monarchies that condition, the life of everybody in a particular state or empire or kingdom. But because these monarchies were for the most part Christianized, you'd have a lot of lives of saints. And in fact, if you read the history of Sozomen, the Byzantine historian, it's like he'll talk about politics and theological controversies and wars, and then he gives you a saint's life. So you'll be reading about, the expedition of the Romans against the Persians, what took place. Oh, and here's the life of Saint Spiridon. And here's another war. It's very, very interesting to read. Modern historians have an epistemological discord between the object of interpretation and their interpretive method. In other words, there's a difference in thinking between how they read the text and what the text itself says. And that's problematic from a Christian point of view. It doesn't mean that historians don't do good work. They do very good work. They'll tell you with accuracy when a text was written, what it was written for, who it was written for. But if they're approaching a hagiography, they will dismiss any elements that they find fanciful, miracles and other things. But miracles are something that happened. Christ performed miracles. And miracles happen in the lives of the saints. And I'm insistent on this. They happen in the lives of the saints. Christ is at work even today in the church. So, you might find in some historians negative use of the saints. This is all superstition. But that comes from a kind of pompous attitude. It does. Because of how far they go, a lot of them. Some of them are neutral. Some of them are positive and say we have to take hagiography seriously because it tells us, even if they don't believe, they'll say it tells us about the mentalities of these people who lived in the past, and this should be taken seriously. And I respect these historians. There are others who make fun.